What's up, YouTube? Okay, I'm here in the Palisades right now off of Lackman Lane, and I'm gonna do a quick little drive-through of this area. I got another job site up there off of Vance Street. I gotta drop off some pipe to this company called Booth. So they're a good company. They're pretty established and they've been around for a while, so I suspect they'll be getting a lot of work here in the Palisades in the future. Work right now is kind of slowed down a little bit. You know, I don't know if you guys can tell, but you'll be able to tell in the video. It's kind of gloomy, it's kind of overcast, and it's kind of wet. You know, and that tends to happen in the wintertime when it rains a lot. Work construction kind of slows down, and it really puts a damper on things. So it can really slow down productivity and job sites and whatnot. But it picks up afterwards. You know, it slows things down for a little while, and then a couple of days later, I'll be dropping off a bunch of things like gravel and sand and burlap and, you know, these straw wattle things, you know, which are terrible. They always get all soaked up and saturated with water, and then they tilt. They're really tall and they tilt heavily, so you got to strap them down really strong. So anyways, we'll do a quick little drive through of this area so you guys can see what's going on over here. And I know you guys like that stuff. It gives you a good perspective and good view up here, okay? So I'll flip the camera around and we'll do a quick little drive through. And thank you again to everyone who's continuously supporting the channel. I'm getting pretty close on 1,700 subscribers, which is, in my opinion, that's a really big accomplishment. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of subs, but 1,700 people is a lot of people who actually, you know, have some, you know, kind of interest in what I have to say. So that's really cool. And I don't say thank you enough for that. So I thank you. I really appreciate it. All right. So let's flip the camera around and let's start this video. Okay. I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, let's go. Drop it into first gear. Let's get. I don't have too many deliveries today. I only have about, I don't know, 4 or 5 more deliveries. Construction slowed down. It's a beautiful house here on the left that looks like it's just being completed. I'm actually very curious to see, you know, in the alphabet streets, you're seeing a lot of homes that are basically under construction, and pretty soon, you know, within the next 6 months, a lot of those homes that are under construction will be completed. I'm actually very curious to see what's going to happen to those homes. Are people going to move into them, or are they going to list them for sale? I'm very curious. What do you guys think? Do you guys think all of the homes that are being rebuilt in the alphabet streets are going to be listed for sale? Or do you think that the original homeowners are going to move in and go about life? I'm very curious. I don't know. I suspect, personally, I think a lot of people are going to be listing those houses for sale. But I don't know. It's really anyone's guess. It looks like you got a lot right here for sale. It looks like it's 924 Lackman Lane, or Latchman Lane. This is Maryvale Lane. I know there's a couple of lots coming up. One right here on the right-hand side. This lot's for sale. There's another lot here for sale on the left-hand side. That is 1033 Lackman Lane, and this is Tellum Drive. You know, quite often I mention I'm very curious about what's going to happen. Like if you look to the left of this older home right here, what's going to happen to the value of that home? Nobody has yet to give me an answer. I haven't been able to. I've been doing some research online and looking to see what's happening to the value of existing homes here in the Palisades, but I haven't been able to find any existing home sales here in the Palisades. Virtually none. Like if you look here to the right, Like, what's going to happen to the value of this home to the right? I mean, I think you guys know my personal opinion. I suspect the value of that home is going to be going down. But until one of these homes is actually sold, nobody really knows. We know for a fact that land values here in the Palisades have plummeted. They've nearly halved. And there is potential for that to continue. You've got a lot here for sale on the left. You've got two of them. This is 1020 Glenhaven. I think it's Circle or Court. I'm not exactly sure. And then you got another one here on the left. And then you've got another property for sale here on the right. Let's see if I can get that address. 961 Glenhaven Drive. And now I'm making a left onto Maryville Lane. And I'm going to go back down the hill. Yeah, what do you guys think? Put it in the comment section. I'm very curious. And if you're a realtor or a broker, or you study real estate, and or if you're a housing data analyst and you want to figure out what's going on here in the Palisades post-fire, let me know, please. I'm very curious. It's for whatever reason, I find it extremely fascinating, and I would love to learn about how wildfires impact the real estate market, right? It's really irrefutable that land values have nearly halved, and I don't understand how anyone can come to the conclusion that housing, like right here, this house right here, the value of that home would appreciate. I don't think that at all. I think that home prices are going to be down, and they're going to be down for quite a bit of time. So right here, I'm going to be making a left onto Akron Street, or Akron Street, whatever. I've been over here many times. There's not too many homes under construction in this area. One of my subscribers had mentioned things will be getting very interesting once the insurance companies no longer continue to pay, all of these people who had their homes burned down. Once the insurance companies no longer continue to pay their rent, then things will get very interesting. And, everyone's policy is going to be a little bit different, right? So the amount of coverage that they have and how long the insurance company will pay their additional living expenses is going to, vary. But once that runs out, and it's like, it seems like the 1 year mark is really when things should start to heat up, right? So the January was when the fire happened, and we're coming up on that 1 year anniversary within the next couple of months, right? What is it, like 4 months or whatever? So it's September, it's about to be October, so you got October, November, December, January, you got 4 months. So I don't know if the average insurance policy covers only 1 year of additional living expenses, and once that term has expired, it's going to be up to the homeowner to figure out what's going on. What are they going to do? Are they going to choose to rebuild? Are they going to continue renting a property? Are they going to sell the lot? What are they going to do? That's when the pressure is really going to mount, once that policy runs out. I think personally, if the majority of people here in the Palisades were on the California Fair Plan, and if their additional living expenses runs out in 1 year, which it could be longer, I really don't know. I don't know the policy terms and conditions and stuff like that. I didn't read their fine print. I have no clue. I'm just speculating and assuming. But let's just say their insurance coverage runs out in a year, and coming up in January, that's kind of a slow season for real estate. The winter months. I mean, here in SoCal, it's not, doesn't, we don't really have winter months. Like, it doesn't really matter. It just rains a little bit more. But I don't know. So I think that could, once these people run out of insurance money, they're going to have to make a decision. And I think a lot of people will choose to just list their land for sale, right? And if more and more lots come up for sale, that could potentially lead to more downward pressure on land values. That could. I'm not sure that will happen, to be honest with you, but it could. It could very well happen. Especially if we go into a recession. I know most people don't think that's going to happen, and that's not likely, but I do. I think that's very probable, and it's not a matter of if, it's more so when. That's my personal belief. But I've been calling for a recession for years now, and it just hasn't really happened. So until it happens, I'm wrong. But when it happens, things could get really ugly. And it's like, what is a recession, right? Like, a recession is really just when people lose their jobs, right? That's what it all comes down to. Your ability to service your debt. If you're heavily indebted, you got a mortgage, you got car payments, you got business loans, you got problems, and then you lose your job, or the company that you own, work starts to slow down, and then a wildfire comes through your neighborhood and just wipes out the whole place, you got problems. You got big financial problems, and you better be thinking about what your next couple of moves are. Especially in this high interest rate environment. And these banks aren't lending money so freely either. I think a lot of people forget that. Just because interest rates are positioned to start coming down, that doesn't necessarily mean that the banks are going to lend money so frivolously. I think from what I understand and what I hear, banks have actually tightened their lending standards pretty substantially. And it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, right? When COVID happened, banks were lending money freely to everyone. People inside county jail were applying for loans and getting approved, right? These guys are locked up, dude. And they're getting approved for loans, car loans, mortgages, credit cards, all that stuff. There's so much rampant fraud going on. And the reason why that was because the banks knew, right? They knew that the Federal Reserve was going to be buying mortgage-backed securities. So in other words, the banks would loan a bunch of people loans, give them mortgages, and then the banks would take those mortgages and bundle it up into a mortgage-backed security, and then they would sell that to investors, to insurance firms, to hedge funds, and ultimately they were going to sell that product to the Federal Reserve. So they didn't care. That's not their problem. They give loan to everyone. Anyone and everyone who applies, give them a loan. You get a loan, you get a loan, you get a loan. But now that the Federal Reserve is no longer buying mortgage-backed securities and interest rates are higher, banks are going to be more hesitant to lend money freely. Because there's more risk associated with it. They might ask for higher credit scores. They might ask for more financial history, right? They might ask for more down payment. Like, you want to buy this house? Well, it's 20% down. No, now we require 30% down, right? Now factor in recession. Now factor in a higher unemployment rate, right? There's all of these unknowns. So I think even though, interest rates are positioned to come down and come down over the next year by probably a lot, that's not necessarily a good thing. historically speaking, when the Fed cuts rates, usually that's associated with negative downturns. And those are, also interest rate cuts are associated with a higher unemployment rate. So that's not necessarily a good thing. So we need to be thinking about those types of situations. And if you're not, you ought to be. If you think that, we just go around living in lollipop land for the rest of our lives, you're wrong. Every once in a while we get hit with an economic downturn. And if you don't have the money to withstand that downturn, you could be in big trouble. But if you're, a crisis capitalist, this could potentially be the opportunity of a lifetime as well, right? These, perfect example is this wildfire. For a lot of people, this will be the worst, financial thing to ever happen to them. But for some, this is a financial opportunity, right? Land values here in the Palisades are down by 40%. Talk about a hell of an opportunity to buy some land in the Palisades. How often does land value drop by 40% in the Palisades? Never. It never happens. Here on the right, I got this job site here on the right, and then on the left, you have this $17 million mansion that has been on the market for, I don't know, it's been probably a year now. It's a beautiful home, but I suspect there's not going to be any buyers anytime soon. If you got 17 million bucks to drop on a house, would you really want to be living in an environment like this for the next decade? I don't think so. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and make this drop and then we'll continue the video, okay? All right, give me 1 second, guys. All right, so here's another property right across the street. Big old house. What's up, guys? Hey, buenos dias. Just wanted to show you guys this house. So across the street, you got that house listed over there. It's been on the market for basically a year, maybe over a year now, for 17 million. And this one is right in front of them. Look at it. Oh, I'll show you. Look at the view though, it's beautiful. I talked to one of the contractors on the job. He said they're gonna be asking 25 to 30 million for this one. I'm not sure if they're gonna get it, but I just dropped off all that pipe. Beautiful pool. 25 to 30 million for this property. I think they're gonna have a really hard time selling it, especially in this environment. I mean, that house across the street's been on the market for, what, over a year now, and no buyers? All right, I'll shut it off. All right. So this is Vance Street. And right here is Chautauqua. All right, so I just got done doing that delivery to that job site right there. I'll clip in a little video of it, you'll already see it basically. Just doing a quick little walkthrough of this home that they're building right there off of Vance. It's a beautiful home. And I talked to one of the contractors. He said that they're going to be trying to sell it for anywhere between 25 to 30 million bucks. All right. Right across the street is a home or a mansion that I have featured in some of my videos before. It's a $17 million mansion, or that's what the guy's asking anyways. $17 million mansion, and it hasn't sold. I'm pretty sure it's been on the market for over a year now, something like that. And I don't think that they've dropped the price. I'm not sure what their situation is, but I suspect that they're going to have to be cutting the price if they want to move it. I'm not sure if they can do that though. Maybe they're just waiting for interest rates to come down. I'm not sure. But, you know, that house has been on the market for over a year now and nothing, no movement. What do you guys think they need to do? Do you think they need to lower the price? Or do you think they need to lower the price and wait for interest rates to come down? You know, it's not cheap. The carrying costs, like all of that home right there, that $17 million mansion, somebody's got to pay for that. You know, somebody has to pay to, you know, have it cleaned and the upkeep. Somebody has to pay for the insurance. Somebody's got to pay for the property taxes and all that stuff. So there's carrying costs associated with a house like that. You know, and I'm sure a $17 million mansion is not cheap to insure. So I think those people have been hemorrhaging. I don't know if it's a homeowner or a builder or what, but they've been blowing through a lot of money. And I think this is ultimately what's leading them to not lower their price. You know, they really can't afford to lower their price because they spent so much money on this property or home already. So, and they're still, you know, they still have carrying costs associated with this home. Like I just said, it's still an added expense for them. And not only that, now they have this $25 or $30 million mansion, which is going to be way bigger with a better view right in front of them. And I suspect that mansion, that $25, $30 million mansion that they're building, they're going to have a really hard time selling that too. I think that's going to be a very similar situation. I think once that house is completed, I think it'll be on the market for quite a substantial period of time. I think that there's only so many people that have, you know, are able to come up with $30 million to buy a mansion, right? That pool of people is pretty small. You know, I know there's a lot of people that have ridiculous amounts of money throughout the world for sure, but $30 million is nothing. You know, that's a lot of money. It's nothing to be like, you know, take lightly. And then it's like you want to spend $30 million to live in an area that was just completely wiped out. You know, the demand right now, it really isn't very high. So I suspect they're going to have, once that mansion's completed, it's going to be the similar situation. It's going to be on the market for a year plus, you know. Unless they already got a buyer lined up, I don't know. I don't actually know the situation, but according to the contractor that I spoke with, he said as soon as this is built and finished, they intend on putting it on the market for anywhere between 25 and 30 million bucks. So we'll see what happens with that. What do you guys think? You think that's gonna sell like that, like hotcakes, or do you think they're gonna have a hard time moving it? Anyways, this video is getting kind of long, all right? I just wanted to showcase that, and I hope you guys enjoyed the drive, all right? And I got another drop coming up here pretty soon, so I don't want to make this video too long. So anyways, thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate it. I'm coming up on 1,700 subscribers. You know, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, man. Help boost my channel up. Let's hit that 1,700 mark, all right? It's right there. All right, guys. Thank you again for everything. I really appreciate it. I can't say thank you enough, all right? And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.